If it's a blue pen, throw it away.
Yep,
Throw it away. For me, I had to sign everything in blue ink, even though it was scanned in black and white. I had to number. I would have to hand number hundreds and hundreds of pages. And you'd have to count them first because it would be 1 of 598, 2 of 598, 3 of 598. You have to create an index for them. And it was one of those, and they all just got scanned and thrown in the trash. That is the government's version of paperless, is that you don't keep the paper. It doesn't mean you didn't use it.
Mm-hmm.
I showed a couple of the guys
how to make your dollar, man.
I showed a couple of the guys how to print a PDF, and you'd have thought I was in a cave and had just invented fire.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I had to explain it using the Willy Wonka example of when they sent the kid through the air in the Mike TV.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I get it. The chocolate bar is the paper. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it might have like, no, that's not at all what I'm saying. But I'm like, yeah, sure. Whatever gets you to stop throwing away thousands of pieces of paper a day. I'm not a tree hugger, but waste bothers me.
Well, sounds like an ad for DocuSign if I ever heard one.
Oh, man.
And we're going to be right back after this great commercial. Right back here with John Waugh and Fran Petro from Fran's Fallout Shelter. Right back here on the Steel Plaza Podcast. Right back here on the Steel Plaza Podcast. John Waugh's here with us. Fran Petro's here with us. Check us out on the social medias. You can find us on anywhere you go to fill your podcast consumption. Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, Google Play. I know the list goes on and on. Anyway, so we're back here and we're talking about all kinds of stuff today. And I notice a lot of people running for different political platforms, different political offices. They always have a catchphrase at the end of their commercials, at the end of their ads. And I wonder, John, do you have one? Do you have a catchphrase?
I hadn't really... I kind of get away from the kitschy, cliched politics.
Yeah.
It's just kind of... There's a YouTube video that said every political ad ever where it's, our candidates shown in favorable lighting with a light voice and their candidates shown from a telephoto lens spilling his coffee in a deep monotone.
What you didn't know about.
And then when I switched to regular TV, there's an I think it was for Attorney General. Like, it's the exact thing they just described, where it's the black and white photos, the unflattering angle, the chin, that's what it is.
Right.
And so you kind of, you want to have a little more substance to it. So
you're sort of like how Art Rooney is with, the Pittsburgh Steelers don't need cheerleaders because the fans are cheering.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
You don't need a catchphrase.
Yeah, I also don't have the budget for TV commercials. Some people do, some people don't. Fundraising has been hard this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, and... one thing I like to talk about is the platform that where you reached out, where I got the FOP endorsement, the Fraternal Order of Police.
Awesome.
And one of the things that, without getting people riled up, I want to talk about the part that's going unspoken, which is the unbelievable physical and especially mental toll that everything's going on is taking on our police as well as all of our first responders.
Yeah, police are quitting.
There's still fires. People are still having accidents, paramedics. And they're, my friends that are police, some of the things that they've shared with me is that there's calls that they're getting on a weekly and starting to become daily basis that they used to see once every month, once every other month. And that's it really takes a toll on their mental health. I mean, the statistic that should jump out at you is that more police died by suicide last year than in the line of duty.
That's a real thing.
It's unacceptable.
It's absolutely unacceptable. And the mental stress, especially nowadays, that these guys are going through, picture yourself waking up and going to work every day with a suicide machine on your hip.
Knowing that basically everybody you look at possibly hates you.
Everyone hates you. Could you imagine?
I think one of the positions that I see with a little bit more of the, I don't want to say alt-right, but much more aggressive right is almost, it's a similar stance to what the left is pushing, but for totally different reasons. I don't want the police to not be on the job for my safety. I want the police sometimes to just walk away and just give in. Just show them exactly what it is that you're asking for. Your life thin blue line, officers, paramedics, firefighters, your life is just as important as any other citizens. I understand that you want to do that job. It's your calling. You want to make sure you can be the person that answers the call and saves a life. But you guys have families too. You guys have children. You guys can get that paycheck. Just, I'd say stay home. I agree. Stay home.
That's the thing. And these guys, they go to work every day. They come home and, they think to themselves, wow, I didn't die today. Or, wow, I didn't get shot today doing my job.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be some weird hunky-dory 1950s black and white soap opera with Andy Dick walking in and it's all whistles and happiness and we get it. It's a rough position. There's no reason to put an extensive amount of additional pressure on someone in that line of profession. They're here for you. The whole point is that they can be there for you, the citizens. And it just makes me so angry.
One of the talking points people on the defund the police side are pivoting, because there's one thing that I will give. They asked Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump to both say something nice about each other during the debates. The one thing if I have to tip my hat to the far left, they are brilliant marketers.
Right.
They can make the unsellable pile of crap that socialism is a trending topic.
There's a reason for that.
What's the reason for it?
Marketing is communist, socialist propaganda. They're the first ones that did it. In World War I, they created propaganda.
But I heard someone recently, they were talking about a reimagined police force, and when I hear that, I think of whenever George Lucas screwed with the original Star Wars trilogy, how that turned out.
They want social workers and
I actually agree. Social workers would be great to integrate into that. But do you think you're going to send an unarmed, untrained, in terms of physical force, social worker into a domestic violence situation, which is one of the top 2 most dangerous situations that law enforcement encounters?
Right. Unless, are we going to train the social workers in Taekwondo? What are we going to do?
Well, then what's the difference between a social worker and a well-trained cop? You can just send cops to psychology classes.
Well, I think having them available to the department with the same response time to bridge the gap, say, in an instance where someone's just been through a traumatic experience, or, you get a call and it wasn't what you thought and it's somebody's hurt, somebody died, would unfortunately die of an overdose, and let's say their child or loved one found them. That's great to bridge that gap and help mitigate that trauma. But they're not a replacement. It's not a one-to-one where we're just going to have I used to joke about this, but now it's becoming a reality. Have you ever seen the movie Demolition Man?
Oh yeah.
That is what they want. They want it to where you have Wesley Snipes' character who's been unfrozen and he's this
Simon
maniac.
Says.
Yeah, it's, take an authoritative stance and tell the maniac to stop or else. That's what they want.
They're going to give you the 2 seashells treatment.
You don't know about the 2 seashells?
He doesn't know.
It's just one of those things where you have to think smarter about it, and again, to criticize my own side, you have both sides yelling and no one listening. Mm-hmm. But there is one side that is way more than the other yelling about things that are just not tenable. You can't just get rid of police. It's not possible. It's insane to try that. Mm-hmm. And then you have things like, the thing that absolutely makes me sick is what happened to those 2 sheriff deputies in Los Angeles. That is just the most despicable cowardice.
Which part? You mean when they were shot in their vehicles, or when they were attacked in the hospital, or when they were trying to be prevented from getting emergency medicine? There's just so many different steps to that, and it depends on what station you watched as to how deep into that story you actually got to evolve into. But yeah, I agree. That's ridiculous.
What some people seem to think is a solution is trial by Twitter.
Yeah, works for Joe Rogan. Yeah.
That's not a solution. I mean, again, we don't live in a pure democracy. Pure democracy is the Chaz zone in Seattle, or Portland, or Seattle, or what that whole Olympic Peninsula. But you can't. We're a constitutionally represented republic, or constitutionally representative republic, or however that's. If I'm misspeaking on that one. We have to make sure that it's not California and New York that dictate policy for the rest of the country. I mean, California's a population, if the Electoral College was abolished, they have a higher population than, 33 other states put together.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they're the wealthiest state, but they're also the poorest. So, and you have this mass exodus, which some people think is going to kind of level it off. What it's going to do is the infection's going to spread.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to leave California, go to Texas, Arizona, Idaho, Utah, and go, oh, this place is great. Let's start doing the stuff that we left for.
Yeah. What's this meth I'm hearing about?
And, just like you said, those two, bookends, I am so tired of celebrities telling me what to think.
Look, as long as they make a beautiful rendition of Imagine after the fact, give me something amazing to listen to and very inspiring, I'm all about it. I know, it's trash.
I thought Ricky Gervais was it the Golden Globes last year, and he said, he criticized everyone, he's like, oh, you're all a bunch of hypocrites. If ISIS came out with a streaming channel, you'd be sending in your resume tomorrow. And I just remember rolling on the floor, laughing to the point where somebody thought I was hurt. Because it was so brutally honest. I'm just like, you know what? He's right. Because they all just try to virtue signal.
That's it. The virtue signaling. Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers.
The share this message,
parts
guys.
of the
It'll really
left.
help.
Parts of the left have become so outspoken about tolerance that they'll actually advocate for intolerance. Where it's, there was some clip where someone says, if people want Sharia law, we shouldn't be so close-minded. And it's like, did you time travel from somewhere? You've been living under a rock. Do you know what that reference is?
I always like it when it's like young women representatives also that have that sharing, or members of the LGBTQ community, yeah. Because it's like, you do understand what happens to you, right? Under this administration.
Well,
we don't have enough buildings for you in LA anymore.
I do think I'll criticize my own party here for a second, but this goes for just about everybody. I don't try to just be that person that props their party up as this holier than thou institution. I think that we're really missing out, and someone asked me this recently, on the demographic of bringing in more people from the LGBTQ community, because there's so many parallels with civil rights and things like that. And I'll give you a great example where there was, at one point, individuals who didn't want to check male or female were being denied a background check when purchasing a firearm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the firearms community found out about that, and what they heard is, wait a minute, someone who is a law-abiding citizen wants to exercise their constitutional right, and you care about their plumbing? No, sir. And that became a red hot issue to them, because they're like, we don't care about that. It's like, somebody wants to protect themselves, I'll be damned if you're going to stop them.
Yeah, you're telling me a bunch of gun-toting, red-leaning NRA members care about gay rights?
Absolutely. It's a
you hear that, guys?
But the thing is, when you talk about, because the Second Amendment is a civil right,
right?
The First Amendment is a civil right. And that's when you really start to draw those parallels where it's, okay, this person wants to, this is how they want to express themselves, and this is how they want you to address them. When you phrase it that way, and I need to figure out a better way of describing this. It's marketing. It's a personal in a way.
Liberty.
Yeah. You can it's just how you sell it to the people that are the conservatives, the holdouts, where it's, hey, they're not asking your church to recognize marriage. But they want to have equal property rights, and they don't want the government taxing them whenever they transfer things with the states. That's whenever that light bulb goes off, and they're like, you know what? I don't like the idea of the government taking more of their money just because of a piece of paper. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's where you start building those bridges. And I just think that we could really, really bring in a bigger crowd if we could just be more inclusive with that. I mean, I hope that the president can kind of shift course on that, because when he was a candidate in 2016, he was the first and only presidential candidate to ever support gay marriage throughout his entire candidacy and presidency.
Right.
And, so that was a big thing. I think that was a good message to be running on. And again, it's not, people get kind of surprised when I talk about this as somebody who is, shoots competitively, who, is a Republican running for office, who has conservative platforms. But you know what? I respect the person. I respect their right to exist. I respect the right to exist how they want to exist.
Life, liberty,